Welcome dear students. In this segment, we will discuss the Special Marriage Act 1954, grounds for divorce and judicial separation. First, let us start with the introduction. The continuity of the marriage is an accepted norm irrespective of the fact that the parties to the marriage are allowed to part their ways. In India, all laws provide for the dissolution of marriage under certain conditions and grounds. The Special Marriage Act 1954 provides various grounds of divorce which are available to both husband and wife. Some additional grounds have been provided to the wife who can ask for divorce besides general grounds. The Act also provides for judicial separation. It may be pointed out that divorce puts an end to the marriage, but judicial separation does not. In judicial separation, marriage remains intact and provides a chance for reconciliation and coming together again. Grounds for divorce and judicial separation. Section 27 of the Special Marriage Act 1954 provides different grounds for the dissolution of marriage. Section 27 provides, subject to the provisions of this Act and the rules made thereunder, a petition for divorce may be presented to the district court either by the husband or the wife on the ground that the respondent has, after the solemnization of the marriage, had voluntary sexual intercourse with any person other than his or her spouse, or has deserted the petitioner for a continuous period of not less than 2 years immediately preceding the presentation of the petition, or is undergoing a sentence of imprisonment for 7 years or more for an offence as defined in the Indian Penal Code 45 of 1860, or has since the solemnization of the marriage treated the petitioner with cruelty, or has been incurably of unsound mind, or has been suffering continuously or intermittently from a mental disorder of such a kind and to such an extent that the petitioner cannot reasonably be expected to live with the respondent. Explanation. In this clause, the expression mental disorder means mental illness, arrested or incomplete development of mind, psychopathic disorder, or any other disorder or disability of mind, and includes schizophrenia. The expression psychopathic disorder means a persistent disorder or disability of mind, whether or not including subnormality of intelligence, which results in abnormally aggressive or seriously irresponsible conduct on the part of the respondent, and whether or not it requires or is susceptible to medical treatment, or has been suffering from venereal disease in a communicable form, or has been suffering from leprosy, the disease not have been contacted from the petitioner, or has not been heard of being alive for a period of 7 years or more by those persons who would naturally have heard of the respondent if the respondent had been alive. Explanation. In this subsection, the expression desertion means desertion of the petitioner by the other party to the marriage without reasonable cause and without the consent or against the wish of such party, and includes the willful neglect of the petitioner by the other party to the marriage, and its grammatical variations and cognate expressions shall be construed accordingly. A wife may also present a petition for divorce to the district court on the ground that her husband has, since the solemnization of the marriage, been guilty of rape, sodomy, or bestiality. That in a suit under Section 18 of the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956, 78 of 1956, or in a proceeding under Section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, 2 of 1974, or under the corresponding Section 488 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1898, 5 of 1898, a decree or order, as the case may be, has been passed against the husband awarding the maintenance to the wife, notwithstanding that she was living apart, and that since the passing of such decree or order, cohabitation between the parties has not been resumed for 1 year or upwards. Subject to the provisions of this Act and to the rules made thereunder, either party to a marriage, whether solemnized before or after the commencement of Special Marriage Amendment Act 1970, 29 of 1970, may present a petition for divorce to the district court on the ground, first, that there has been no resumption of cohabitation as between the parties to the marriage for a period of 1 year or upwards, after the passing of a decree for judicial separation in a proceeding to which they were parties. Or number 2, that there has been no restitution of conjugal rights as between the parties to the marriage for a period of 1 year or upwards, after the passing of a decree for restitution of conjugal rights in a proceeding to which they were parties. The grounds mentioned by the Section 27 can be broadly classified into 3 categories. The first comprises 8 grounds that are called as fault grounds of divorce, which are available to both the spouses. The second comprises 2 special grounds, which are available to only a wife. The third comprises of 2 grounds that are called breakdown of marriage and are available to both the spouses. Recognition of divorce by no means signifies that the stability in marriage is not revered, nor does it mean that the divorce should become a plaything and should be frequently exercised. This fact has been duly acknowledged by the Act as well. To avoid frequent divorce and save a marriage, an important measure of judicial separation has been provided by the Act. Section 23 of the Act provides: a petition for judicial separation may be presented to the district court either by the husband or the wife A on any of the grounds specified in subsection 1 and subsection 1A of Section 27, on which a petition for divorce might have been presented, or B on the ground of failure to comply with a decree for restitution of conjugal rights, and the court, on being satisfied of the truth of the statements made in such petition and there is no legal ground why the application should not be granted, may decree judicial separation accordingly. Where the court grants a decree for judicial separation, it shall be no longer obligatory for the petitioner to cohabit with the respondent, but the court may, on the application by the petition of either party and on being satisfied of the truth of the statements made in such petition, rescind the decree if it considers it just and reasonable to do so. The grounds for divorce and judicial separation are same and may be discussed as under. First, adultery. Adultery is a ground on which any aggrieved spouse may seek either a divorce or judicial separation. Literally speaking, adultery means voluntary sexual intercourse of a married person with any of the opposite sex other than his or her spouse. The section has made it clear that for adultery, three essential conditions are: number one, that sexual intercourse should have been with any person other than the spouse. Number two, that it must be voluntary sexual intercourse. And number three, that it must have been done after the solemnization of marriage. Adultery, apart from being an offense under the penal law, is also a serious breach of the matrimonial trust. The Special Marriage Act 1954 has accordingly taken cognizance of it by providing matrimonial relief to the aggrieved party. The word adultery has not been used expressly by the section. It says voluntary sexual intercourse with any person other than his or her spouse, which implies adultery. Before 1976, living in adultery was a ground for divorce. For judicial separation, even a single act of adultery was enough. But in 1976, Section 27 was amended, and like judicial separation, even a single act of adultery has been made a ground for divorce also. The burden of proving adultery is on the person who alleges his or her spouse of adultery, and it can be proved either by direct or circumstantial evidence. Desertion. Like adultery, desertion is also a ground for divorce or judicial separation. Any aggrieved party can approach to the court and seek this matrimonial relief. According to Section 27, subsection 1, clause B, mere desertion is not enough to avail it as a ground for divorce or judicial separation. There must be a desertion for a continuous period of not less than 2 years, immediately preceding the date of presentation of petition. The Act has not given any definition of desertion. Literally speaking, it means abandonment, giving up, uninhabited, etc. In Kako versus Ajit Singh, AIR, 1960, Punjab, 328, it was laid down that desertion means abandonment and implies an action of withdrawal from a cohabitation that exists. In order to prove desertion, the apex court in Bipin Chandra, Jai Singh Bhai Shah versus Prabhavati, AIR, 1957, Supreme Court 176, which, although was a case under the Bombay Hindu Divorce Act 1947, identified ingredients of desertion in general. The court laid down for the offense of desertion, so far as the deserting spouse is concerned, two essential conditions must be there, namely the factum of desertion and the intention to bring cohabitation permanently to an end, animus deserandi. Similarly, two elements are essential so far as the deserted spouse is concerned. First, the absence of consent, and second, absence of conduct giving reasonable cause to the spouse leaving the matrimonial home to form the necessary intention aforesaid. The petitioner for divorce bears the burden of proving those elements in the two spouses respectively. Desertion is a matter of inference to be drawn from the facts and circumstances of each case. The inference may be drawn from certain facts which may not be in another case be capable of leading to the same inference. If in fact there has been a separation, the essential question always is whether that act could be attributable to an animus deserandi. The offense of desertion commences when the fact of separation and the animus desidendi coexist. But it is not necessary that they should commence at the same time. The de facto separation may have commenced without the necessary animus, or it may be that the separation and the animus desidendi coincide in point of time. For example, when the separating spouse abandons the marital home with the intention, expressed or implied, of bringing cohabitation permanently to a close. If a deserting spouse takes advantage of the locus ponentia and decides to come back to the deserted spouse by a bona fide offer of resuming the matrimonial home with all implications of marital life before the statutory period is out, or even after the lapse of that period, unless proceedings for divorce have been commenced, desertion comes to an end, and if the deserted spouse unreasonably refuses the offer, the latter may be in desertion and not the former. Hence, it is necessary that during all the period that there has been a desertion, the deserted spouse must affirm the marriage and be ready and willing to resume married life on such conditions as may be reasonable. It is well settled that in proceedings for divorce, the plaintiff must prove the offence of desertion, like any other matrimonial offence, beyond reasonable doubt. However, desertion itself is a good defence if it is proved that it was done due to a reasonable cause. Likewise, if one party leaves the matrimonial home with the consent of the other party, he or she is not guilty of desertion. Desertion may come to an end in any of these ways. Number 1, deserting spouse resumes cohabitation, or number 2, expresses willingness to come back within the statutory period of 2 years. Next, imprisonment. Indian Penal Code defines various offences and punishment thereof. If the respondent has been sentenced for 7 or more years, the plaintiff may seek divorce or judicial separation for an offence as defined in the Indian Penal Code 1860. Prior to the Marriage Laws Amendment Act 1976, the proviso to Section 27, subsection 1, Clause C of Special Marriage Act 1954 provided that such petition could be presented after the respondent had undergone 3 years imprisonment. This proviso has been deleted. Next, cruelty. The word cruelty has not been defined in the Act. Actually, it is very difficult to give a precise connotation of cruelty, and dear students, very rightly the Act has not defined it. This has even been acknowledged by the Apex Court in Ravi Kumar versus Julmi Devi 2010, 4 Supreme Court cases 476, wherein the court remarked that cruelty has no definition. In fact, such definition is not possible. Personal dignity is very significant to human beings. Whenever human personality is under any threat, it needs to be checked and controlled by law. If there is any threat to life and dignity, such threat amounts to cruelty in one or the other form. The cruelty may be either mental or physical. Cruelty is also an offence under the provisions of Indian Penal Code. The Supreme Court in Vishwanath versus Sarla, AIR 2012, Supreme Court 2586 laid down that the expression cruelty has an inseparable nexus with human conduct or human behavior. It is always dependent on the social strata or the milieu to which the parties belong, their ways of life, relationships, temperaments, and emotions that have been conditioned by their social status. There seems to be no end to the parameters of the cruelty. The detailed case law reveals that from wearing of sari to removal of Mangal Sutra, endless cases have been filed before the court on the ground of cruelty. What actually amounts to cruelty varies from situation to situation and case to case. Cruelty, of course, is a matrimonial wrong, and the courts have over the years taken cognizance of the changing needs of the time. But dear students, at the same time, the courts have not viewed every act of abnormality or irregularity as a ground for divorce. Recently, in D. Barna versus R. Barna, AIR 2018, Guwahati 56, the husband pleaded that wife used to humiliate him for his inability to earn sufficient money to run his family. It was proved that the husband was not paying sufficient amount, and it was held that the wife's demand for money does not amount to cruelty. Next, mental disorder. What amounts to mental disorder has been defined by the explanation to section 27, subsection 1, clause E. Taking both section and explanation into consideration, these important elements can be inferred. Mental disorder must be incurable. Next, mental disorder may be either continuous or intermittent. If it is proved that the respondent is suffering from incurable mental disorder, divorce can be obtained. For this purpose, medical evidence is necessary, and it does not amount to breach of personal liberty guaranteed by Article 21 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court in Sharda versus Dharmal, AIR 2003, Supreme Court 3450, laid down that Article 21 is not absolute and some restrictions can be imposed. The court has the power to order a person to undergo medical examination, and such order would not be violative of Article 21. Next, venereal disease. Venereal disease has not been defined by the Act. This disease is generally acquired through sexual intercourse. The measurement under the Act is that it must be in a communicable form. In Banindra Kumat versus Hemlata Viswas, ILR 48, Calcutta, the court laid down that it will be cruel to compel wife for sexual intercourse when the husband is suffering from venereal disease. Next, leprosy. Leprosy of any kind, whether virulent or non-virulent, curable or non-curable, has been covered by the Act. Leprosy cannot be a ground of divorce when the disease have not been contacted from the petitioner. It means where the petitioner has already suffering from the leprosy and respondent got it from petitioner, then divorce cannot be granted. Earlier, the time period of 3 years for disease was fixed in order to avail the decree, but by amendment in 1976, it has been removed. Additional grounds available to wife. Subsection 1A of section 27, which was added in 1976 by an amendment to the Act, provides 2 additional grounds to a wife. These 2 grounds can be available for both judicial separation and divorce. If the husband, after the solemnization of marriage, has been guilty of the offense of rape, sodomy, or bestiality, the wife can ask for either divorce or judicial separation. For these unnatural offenses, a person can be penalized under the provisions of Indian Penal Code. Additional care has been taken by the Act by recognizing these as special grounds of divorce and judicial separation for the wife. Number 2, in case if a maintenance order or decree has been passed in wife's favor and the parties afterwards have not cohabited for a year or above, the wife may present a petition for divorce or judicial separation. The maintenance order could be passed under any of these laws. Section 18 of the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956 or Section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 or under the corresponding Section 488 of the Criminal Procedure Code 1898. Next is divorce by mutual consent. Persons married or who have registered their marriage under the Act could get their marriage dissolved by the mutual consent. Special Marriage Act 1954, Section 28 of the Act reads as under. Divorce by mutual consent, subsection 1. Subject to the provisions of this Act and to the rules made thereunder, a petition for divorce may be presented to the district court by both the parties together on the ground that they have been living separately for a period of 1 year or more, that they have not been able to live together, and that they have mutually agreed that the marriage should be dissolved. Subsection 2. On the motion of both the parties made not earlier than 6 months after the date of the presentation of the petition referred to in subsection 1 and not later than 18 months after the said date, if the petition is not withdrawn in the meantime, the district court shall, on being satisfied after hearing the parties and after making such enquiry as it thinks fit, that a marriage has been solemnized under the Act and that the averments in the petition are true, pass a decree declaring the marriage to be dissolved with effect from the date of the decree. Section 34, subsection 1, class C further provides, when divorce is sought on the ground of mutual consent, such consent has not been obtained by force, fraud, or undue influence. The essential requirements which have to be complied with are: number 1, the parties have been living separately for a period of at least 1 year. Number 2, they have not been able to live together and that they have mutually agreed to get their marriage dissolved. In order to avail the provisions under this Act, it is mandatory that the parties should have either married or registered their marriage under this Act. In Reynolds Rajaneni versus Union of India, AIR 1982, Supreme Court 1261, where the parties were married under the Indian Christian Marriage Act 1872 and their petition for divorce by mutual consent under Section 28 of the Special Marriage Act 1954 was dismissed. The court held that the ground could not be availed of by the parties as they were governed by the Indian Divorce Act 1869, which did not provide for divorce by mutual consent. Divorce by mutual consent is not permitted outside the court by the Act. In Miss Jordan Degende versus S.S. Chopra, AIR 1985, Supreme Court 1935, respondent wife filed petition for judicial separation, permanent alimony and maintenance. Husband contended that the marriage between the parties was dissolved by mutual consent as per custom, by execution of documents, and therefore marriage was not subsisting. Trial court held that husband was not entitled to dissolve marriage by mutual consent in customary way, as marriage was solemnized under the Special Marriage Act and therefore marriage was subsisting. On appeal, appellate court allowed appeal filed by wife and dismissed appeal filed by husband, holding that marriage was still subsisting. It was observed by the court in the case of the overriding effect given to the provisions of Hindu Marriage Act is save as otherwise expressly provided. In section 29, subsection 4, it has been expressly mentioned that nothing contained in Hindu Marriage Act shall be deemed to affect the provisions contained in Special Marriage Act 1954 with respect to the marriage between Hindus solemnized under that act. It is therefore apparent that insofar as the marriage between Hindus solemnized under Special Marriage Act are concerned, the provisions of Hindu Marriage Act 1955 cannot be taken recourse to do something which is not provided for in Special Marriage Act. The Special Marriage Act does not permit divorce by mutual consent outside the court, that is, by following customs. If the arguments of learned counsel for appellant husband are accepted, the mode of dissolving the marriage not contemplated by Special Marriage Act 1954 is required to be read into, and it that is not permissible. Conclusion. Marriage is not merely a ritual, but a relationship which emphasizes on a number of responsibilities. The sanctity of marriage can be preserved by requited devoutness. If two persons cannot live in peace, how long law can compel them to live together? Accordingly, the logic of divorce has been recognized by this act. The act recognizes various forms of marriage dissolution. It has given recognition to fault grounds, breakdown grounds, and divorce by mutual consent. Judicial separation, which is considered as lesser evil as it keeps the options open for reconciliation, has also been provided by the act. Dissolution of marriage or judicial separation can be availed as matrimonial reliefs not only by the persons who have married under the provisions of the act, but also by those who have married under the provisions of their respective personal laws. The only thing they have to do is to register their marriage under the provisions of this act. Dear students, that was all about today's program. Hope you have understood it well. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.